Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Velocity 360. I've been working a lot this past week on Turbo, this project for scaffolding full stack Node, React, and Redux projects. So I have a lot of new things I want to show you. I want to get some feedback, and I want to show you how you can use Turbo to help speed up your development flow. So first thing you need to do is install Turbo. I made a lot of updates, so if you watched the last video and you installed Turbo, you gotta do it again because I made a lot of changes. So here, you want to install Turbo just like this. Okay. I'm just going to show you a few things you can do with Turbo to help expedite your development flow, and then depending on how long it takes, I think I'll put together a quick Google Maps demo because I got a question today on my YouTube channel about Google Maps and how to make the integration, because apparently there's some breaking changes in 6.3. The Google Maps React app, React Google Maps component. So we'll see how that goes with Turbo. So once you have the installation going, go to your development directory. So I'm just going to do this on the desktop. And then let's create a new Turbo app. So what you want to do is say Turbo and then new. That's a change in my commands. The command APIs for Turbo. Let's call it Google. No, it's not called Google. Let's call it Map app. And that's it. And then cd into the map app. And then run the npm install. So one thing about Turbo is that it scaffolds a full React and Redux environment. So it gives you kind of a more robust environment to work around. So in order to add more stuff, you have to be a little bit more knowledgeable. I wouldn't say this is a beginner tool or a total beginner. You shouldn't be using this. But if you've been following my videos and you have a good idea of how to set up a React project and some basic Redux conceptual knowledge, this should be helpful in terms of cutting down a lot of the boilerplate code. So for example, the reducers are all set up, the stores are all set up, the providers integrated. If I open up the project in Sublime, we have our standard directory, we have our source directory with the index as our primary entry point. You may notice the providers already in there because this is a fully Redux integrated environment. So it gives you a lot more out of the box. And then if you look through here, you see the stores, the reducers, the constants, components, and the action creators. Couple components already in there. Ignore that for now. And you'll see that there's a lot of code already set up. Now I created a user's reducer right here with a couple corresponding actions. I think 2. Yeah, 1, 2. Simply as an example. So you don't have to use it if you don't want to, and that's fine. You can just take it out. If you want to remove the user's reducer, just make sure you do it from the reducers directory as well as the store. Don't forget that it's right here. But I left it there as an example so you can kind of see how the working environment is set up, and then you can work off that to add your code and extend upon the project. So I think it's a good way to sort of wrap your head around the environment and the organization and then start doing some actual development. So right off the bat, once you run the install, it runs a build, it builds a project, everything's ready to go. And then you can see something right away. All right, so here we have a very minimal UI. Okay, it's not very impressive looking, and you might think, well, what if I don't want it to look like that? What if I want to add, a different theme? If I want to make it look different. Well, I've added support for that. So what I did was here, if you go back to the terminal and make sure you're in the root directory, it's very important. You got to be in the root directory to make these commands. You want to do turbo theme, and then pick a theme name that from a pre-selected list. So let's say theme and hyperspace. So this is one of the themes I integrated by default in Turbo. So what it's doing right now is it's swapping out the default theme, and it's integrating a new theme from called Hyperspace, which is a free theme from HTML5. So I use HTML5up.net. If you take a look at these, HTML5up.net. The guy who maintains this project put up a bunch of free themes, and he did a great job, and I just picked a handful and I integrate these into my React Turbo project. So once the conversion is done, which it now is, if you go back to the index.html, whoops, the wrong one, go back to the index.html, if I reload the page, now I see the same React-based project using the hyperspace theme. This is very important to understand. So if you go back to the code base here in Sublime, all the Redux code is untouched because it's not visual anyway. Really, the only changes are going to be right here in this directory called presentation. And these are all components that are specific to the theme you're currently using. So these are components that I sliced up from the Hyperspace HTML5 theme into React components, and I just put them in here. And then the entry point, the index entry point, it's a lot more now. It's got all this stuff in here, but this is all meant to be demo code. Like, it's not, you can remove all of it, but the idea is that you can see the components from the theme and how they're being used within a React environment. So this is basically the home page of the Hyperspace theme, all sliced up into React components, and then inserted here for an example. So that saves a lot of time for theme integration. But however, again, this isn't really a sort of a beginner thing. If you couldn't do this on your own, then this might be a little bit too much. You want to learn how to do this so that you can make more substantial changes down the road. But if you've been doing this for a while, like I have, then you know that swapping out a theme like this can be very time consuming. So if you can just do it quickly, then that'll save you a lot of time in terms of creating these pre-fashioned components and getting the CSS and the build scripts and getting all that stuff working. So out of the box, I integrated, I think, 5 themes. So if I go back to Turbo, another one is Turbo theme Editorial. This one's very different than Hyperspace, so this is a good example. So what it's doing right now is it's fetching all the components from the Editorial theme, the React components. It's also fetching a set of build scripts, different CSS files, all that stuff, JavaScripts, and then it's inserting them into this project. It's going to run the build, and then it's going to compile the project, and then you can see it's done. So now you can see when I reload the page, you're going to see the Editorial theme from a React code base. Again, this is very important to understand. This is all built from React. So if I go back to my actual source code, you'll see everything just changed. You see that? So now we have the Editorial theme integrated into this project in case you like that better. So a couple things here you want to understand is that the main changes are in this presentation directory. So these are basically theme-specific components. Most of them I tried to maintain the same name, but it wasn't 100% crossover. This folder right here, the presentation folder, I might change the name to that to theme because those are just coming from the theme. So what you want to do is use those components in your project to make it to create your own UIs using the theme assets and whatnot. So another theme I used was Turbo theme. What else did I use? Prologue. Yeah, I don't really like this one as much. I shouldn't have used it, but just was trying whatever at first. So okay, so this will be done in a second, and then it's another sort of rewrite of the entry page of the React project. So okay, it's almost done, and then there we go. So now if I reload the page, now I'm seeing another theme, Prologue, I think it's called, yeah, Prologue. And a couple other points, I should actually just show you real quick. This is the rest of the theme. All right, so a couple other points. The gulp file is also from the theme repository. One thing I want to point out is that these themes are hosted on a repository, a Git repository. So they don't come with the CLI in the package. Otherwise, the CLI would be massive. like gigs of space, which is not what you want. So what happens is whenever you swap out a theme, the Turbo will remove all the assets from the previous theme, so there's no like residual, there's nothing like left over kind of, and then it'll download the assets from the new theme and then like reintegrate. There are some implications there though, like this whole presentation directory is removed whenever you swap out a theme. So if you put your own stuff in there, that's going to go away if you swap out a theme. So you really shouldn't do that. So you in here you want to create another folder, maybe called custom or app or whatever, something that's specific to your project. Also important is this index file, not this one, sorry, this one right here is also swapped out entirely. So I may change that down the road. But this index file is meant to be a demonstration. It's meant to be an illustration of the theme in action. So kind of like the index page of a theme when you download it for the first time. So it's not really meant to be where your source code begins. So I might just change the name of this to theme.js so that when the entry point is loaded, it'll be obvious that this is a page just for the theme illustration. And then you should continue using index.js for your root, or just create another file name, call it app.js. That's fine. Most people would go with app.js anyway, so I think that should be fine, whatever you want to go with. But just understand that if you switch the theme out, this whole file will be removed and then replaced. If you write a lot of business code in here, that could be a pain in the neck later on. So watch out for that. So those are a couple gotchas you want to be careful about. But otherwise, I think it was worth the trade-off, because just swapping out themes from one to the other, like that used to be like a day of work for me. I'm like literally 3-4 hours just to get all the theme components properly set up and get everything looking right, get all the build scripts going, get everything properly set up. So one major pain point for me is getting all that flow, and then you find out later on, it's not looking quite the way you want. So I'm going to switch themes again, and then that's going to be like another 5 hours, because now you have like logic tied into that theme. You have to like pull it out and rewrite a lot of classes and whatnot, and that's shitty. So one of the pain points that this is meant to solve is a pain point that's very specific to me, which is just swapping out UIs. Another pain point is the Redux setup. That's just mostly boilerplate, and it's just repetitive, so I got that out of the way. But if you've been following my tutorials, the Redux setup you see here should seem very familiar, very comfortable, and it's pretty standard too, by the way. Like I didn't go rogue with my own conventions or anything like that. I just basically followed standard practices here. So so yeah, and I'm going to show you one more theme, the one that I put in today. So Turbo theme. So this is another theme that I incorporated into the default menu. And this is my favorite one, so I think I'm going to use this one in my demo. And it should be done in a second. All right. Whoa, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? All right, cool. So here is the theme I just integrated. It's right here. This is the only one so far that's not from HTML5. So this is actually a paid theme. I actually paid for this theme. But here it is. And same thing, I sliced it up into a series of sub React components. And then it's all right here. So right here. So here is the new index page. Here's the new index page and here are the components that I'm using, and the rest is just sort of just placeholder text, just regular, just lorem ipsum type text. So so yeah, so here's the sidebar, right? So if I take the sidebar out and I run the Webpack build, the sidebar should be gone. Of course, the whole thing is gone. So let me see what just happened there. Sidebar is not defined, so I removed it from the wrong spot because I'm a bird brain. So let's try that again. There we go. All right. So the sidebar is gone now. Cool. So, yeah, theme works. Everything's set up. The sidebar is a what do you call a stateless functional component. Here it is right here, and I left most of the defaults in place. You know, basically, if you purchase the theme on your own, you'll basically see the same code already there. And I just sliced it up into React components. For the most part, that's what I did. I took some small liberties on my own. I'll put the sidebar right back. All right, so one thing you may have noticed, though, is that this is a strictly front-end code base. If you use create React app, this is basically a similar tool with just a few more things, like adding Redux and like some sort of default theme integration. So what if down the road you change your mind and you want to add a server? What if you're building out all this front end and you're like, you know what, it's time for a server, or I changed my mind, I want to handle the server as well on the same code base. Then I built in support for that too. So if I go back to my terminal, what you want to do from the root directory is turbo server express. So here I'm telling Turbo to add the express code into this project, and right now it only supports express. So this argument is technically is extraneous, but I'm thinking about down the road adding support for like Python Django or Ruby on Rails or something else, just something other than Express. But for now it's Express. So if I run that, it's going to build the Express project, the Node Express project, and then it's going to run the npm installs and build the project, and then it's going to basically set it up so that the app will serve from a server rather than index HTML. So when this is done in another second or so, next thing you want to do is run the server, using node mod or however you normally do it, and then go to localhost 3000 like we normally do. So. All right, so here, I'm now running localhost 3000. So if I go here, same thing. Everything still works, right? So it's running from the server. You can run a full backend, integrate the Mongo database. I didn't go that far. I left that up to the user. The database integration is up to you, however you want to do it. But the server setup is good to go. So if you look at the code base for the server now, it's all right here, right? If you open that up, you'll see a lot of the familiar code that I normally use. It's actually not even as much as the React stuff. The server code is actually pretty easy to integrate. But here you see the the usual thing, the API routes, the controllers, utils. I wasn't sure about putting in the user model because then that would be specific to Mongo. So I left it out for now, but I don't know, maybe I'm being too picky on that. It doesn't really matter. But the setup is all there, and if you open up the index.js in the server, you'll see our usual Express configuration, all the installs and whatnot. A couple tweaks I have to make it work with this directory structure, but it's nothing you can't just figure out by looking at it. So yeah, and the one thing that I got working here, which is a little bit challenging, it took me a while to get it down right, but the server integration has a few implications on the file paths for the assets. So getting it to work with these theme switching was a little tricky, but I think I got it to work. So if I do turbo theme, I think we went through all the themes, right? So I'm just going to do hyperspace again. So what was tricky was getting this to work after you integrate the server. I wouldn't say it was challenging, it was just like a lot of details. lots of little things that kind of, that are easy to overlook and forget. So now if I run the server again, and then localhost, now I've got hyperspace. So yeah, that's it. It works. All right, let's see. I really don't like hyperspace. I'm gonna put it back to the other one, Turbo theme stack. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you before I wrap up here is you can use Turbo. What if you know you want to use a server right away? Like what if you just knew you want to use a server with React Redux? You can scaffold the entire project with the server right out of the box. It's actually pretty easy to do. Let me get rid of all this. Okay, I'm actually going to junk this project. Okay, and then if I want to create, if I know right out of the bat, I want to use a server with my React project, then what I want to do is Turbo, new map, oh, and then dash express, and that's it. That'll include express in the default build, in the build right away. So if I run it now, and I do cd map, and then run the npm install, it'll do the React, Redux, and the Express all together at once. So it takes a little bit longer, but for a lot of the projects that you do, you probably know you want a server right out of the box anyway. At least that's pretty much the case for me every time, say 90%. So it would be awkward not to have that option right away. So so yeah, that's it. So I want to leave this video cut off here just to show you kind of a quick rundown of what what I built using Turbo. Feel free to use it if you want to give me some feedback. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll just put my email up here real quick. I have a lot more things I've been working on with regard to Turbo. For example, a system that enables OAuth sign-in for projects. So rather than integrating Passport.js manually and setting up all the strategies manually and doing all that nonsense again and again and again on your own, I have a module, a service actually, not really a module, it's more of a service that issues the OAuth tokens for you. It doesn't actually issue it for you. It handles the OAuth token process for you and then returns the tokens and then stores the user information in a database that you can access whenever you want. So basically it gives you all the benefits of OAuth 2 without the setup hassle of OAuth 2. So that's on the way. It's about 70-75% ready. I'm still doing a lot of testing. OAuth is a real pain in the ass if you've ever experienced it. This is another reason why I'm setting this up. All right, this is done. So if I go here, so I already added the server. So if I run localhost, I'm back to my default. And then just like always, I can switch themes again. So Turbo theme. Let's go with Editorial. I'm going to add more themes, make it more, make more options for users to use. One thing I want to see if people would be interested in exploring this is having premium themes on Turbo. So having people write their own themes, just like you see on WordPress or like Theme Forest or anything like that, Get Bootstrap, one of those theme marketplaces, but specifically for React and Turbo. So that whereby you can swap it out using the CLI, right? So it's actually like it's very much for developers. So here, just like I did right here, right? So one thing that I would like to see if this is something that people would use is for purchasing premium themes. I know I myself, I buy a premium theme on Theme Forest maybe once or twice a month. So they average around $20. So I spend around $300 a year, $300 a year That's 15. So yeah, $300 a year on Theme Forest. Right? That's about what I spent. So um, that means, you know, maybe there's a corresponding marketplace for React-based themes. And especially if it's easy to integrate, because what I do is I'll buy a theme from Theme Forest, and then it'll take me like 3-4 hours to get it, like, you know, carve it all up, set up the build scripts, you know, all the compilation scripts, and minify all the JavaScript and CSS and optimize it and all that crap. Um, and then, you know, convert all the HTML into React component. Like that whole thing is just day one, and that's it. And then find out maybe a couple days down the road, you know what, I'm not too crazy about this theme. I think I should try a different one. So anything to cut down that process, for me at least, saves time. So I'd be happy to spend money on that. If there were pre-fashioned themes for React that I can just integrate like this very quickly. So if you're a designer and you know some React as well, and you want to submit a theme for Turbo, let me know, and maybe people will be willing to pay for it, and that'd be pretty cool. So here is the editorial theme using Turbo, where I scaffolded the Turbo project with React, excuse me, with Express right away. So you can do that. It's fine. And you know, I tried to cover for that angle as well. In fact, that was probably one of the first things I built, assuming like, why wouldn't anyone want that? But not everyone wants to build a backend with Express or a backend at all. So you want to cover all possibilities. All right, so this rundown went a little bit longer than I thought. So what I'm going to do is cut this off right here, and then I'm going to post another video shortly after this using Turbo to do a Google Maps demonstration, which is what I was originally planning on doing for this video, but this one went a little bit longer than I expected. So I'm going to do a Google Maps demonstration using Turbo, React Google Maps, and yeah, that's basically it. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.